Hello and welcome to my first YouTube video ever. I saw this palette online and I could not find anything about it pretty much. I found 2 reviews that were like, yeah, it's good, but once one empties out, you can't refill it. I saw another video where somebody was doing swatches of it, but I had questions and I could not find the answers to my questions because I wanted to know what the texture's like. Luckily, I have acne today, so I can show how the coverage is. I wanted to know how well it mixed with my MAC foundations, and I also wanted to know how it wears by itself. So I will put it on my face and then I will do an update a couple hours later to show how it wears, if it makes my skin oily, if it makes me break out, how it feels. This is called the MAC Pro Palette Full Coverage Foundation, I think. So many words in a row. I'm just gonna call it the Pro Palette. Hopefully it's good because I spent 115 Australian dollars on it, so hopefully this was a good decision. It came in this box that has my fingerprints all over it. I took it out of that box and it looks like this. It's magnetic, pretty good quality. I have yet to use it at all, so I have no idea how it's gonna be. I know the top row is warmer tones and the bottom row is cooler tones. For this side of my face, I'm just gonna use the Pro Palette. For this side of my face, I'm going to also use the Studio Radiance. For mixing my foundation, I'm going to use this. Okay, so here is my mess of foundations. I think I went a little too dark, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to try a brush and a sponge. Right now I have a dry sponge. I have my mixed Studio Radiance and my Pro Palette. Might have to do a little bit of blending to get my color right. I wear self-tanner and I have rosacea, so I'm just a difficult one. Honestly, I think that the foundations mix pretty well together and they feel good. Like, it feels light. If you know what it's like to wear MAC foundation, it feels just like that. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel like it's weighing down the Studio Radiance, even though they're mixed. I'm going to do my forehead with a brush. Okay, so I've completed 1/2 of the mixed foundation and the Studio Radiance. So I think it'd be weird to actually just use the Pro Palette and not mix it, but maybe some people are after that, so I'm gonna show what it's like when it's just the Pro Palette. Maybe you're in a situation where it's just like you need that certain shade and you don't have it in, you know, your normal foundations. So I'm gonna show what it's like, just the Pro Palette. It feels a little thick, so I feel like it's gonna be a lot of coverage and stuff. This, I feel like it feels light, it feels good mixing it in. It looks good, I feel pretty covered. But yeah, we're gonna try just this alone. So in the video where someone was showing the swatches, they did say that they wished there was some lighter colors, and I have some very light skin in some spots, so I don't know how this is gonna go to like find my color, but I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna start with a dry sponge, but I think I'm gonna have to wet it just because it's so thick. I don't know how well it's gonna go on, but we're gonna give it a go. I feel like I'm gonna try and wet my sponge just to see if it spreads easy. Okay, now I'm back with a wet sponge. And you know what? I definitely prefer a wet sponge. It feels like it's going on a lot better. So I have the lightest color that I'm putting on my cheek. This one right here. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but even still, like, my skin here is lighter than the foundation that I'm applying. So I would definitely recommend, if you are going to be doing lighter skin clients or something, to also have a very fair foundation to mix in, just to be safe. I feel like I can get away with just using this and I'll be okay, but they definitely could have added in a lighter color as well. I am gonna go back and add a little bit in with my brush just to see how the Pro Palette spreads with just a brush. It is thicker. It doesn't feel that thick though. Like it feels light, like it doesn't feel super heavy on my skin, but also it is pretty full coverage. Like, I feel like normally my pores look so bad, but they don't look that bad. And you guys saw where I had acne. You can't even really tell that I have acne at all right now, which is pretty crazy, and I'm pretty happy about that. I feel like because it's so thick, when I put it on with a brush, I kind of have to dab it. Like, I can't rub or else it looks like there's rubbed foundation on me. I feel like I definitely prefer applying this with a wet sponge more than anything else. But I'm actually really impressed. I didn't think that I would like just having the full coverage foundation on my skin. I thought it was going to feel way too heavy. Honestly though, like, if I was a bride getting my makeup done and this was all that was put on my face, I would be fine with it. It's working out pretty good. Okay, so all in all, my skin looks so good. I didn't use any primer, I didn't use any products, I'm not gonna use a setting spray. Also, as I was doing my makeup, I kind of had the question, like, I wonder how well you could use this palette to contour with. Alright, so I'm going to go in. I only have the Pro Palette on my brush, I do not have it mixed. I know that I said that my favorite way to apply the Pro Palette was with a wet sponge, but just putting some darker Pro Palette on my brush and blending it in works so well for contouring. Like, it looks so blended, but I look a little bit more peachy. I look like it's actually summertime. I don't know, I'm pretty happy with it so far. I'm gonna do a review how it looks in a couple hours. I'm happy with both sides. I'm happy with how it mixes. I'm happy with it just on its own, which I feel like is the most shocking part. Was like, I did not expect that I would actually even consider wearing this as a foundation alone. It's just like all my rosacea, all my acne is completely covered. My pores are not enlarged at all. When I used to buy cheaper stuff, you could see my pores so bad because I have rosacea, and honestly, like, they look so good. I feel like my pores show a little bit more on the side that I mixed it than on the side where it's just the Pro Palette, which is kind of impressive that I feel like my pores are smaller on this side because I really do love this foundation too. But yeah, I feel like pores wise, it's really good. I don't know, like, I'm thinking this side's looking better. This feels really light, it feels good, it feels like I'm fully covered, but not heavy. So MAC claims that the palette can cover up most scars, blemishes, and birthmarks. And you know what, after seeing how it covered up my acne and all the redness, I would believe it, but I'm going to try and cover up this little really shitty tattoo that I got when I was younger that's of the Libra symbol, because I'm a Libra and I make mistakes in life. I want to show you guys, but I also want to look at it. This is where I'm at with 2 light dabs of my wet sponge in just the Pro palette. Okay, so I had to really kick it on and also take note of how this finger is kind of darker than my other fingers. I'm a very pale person. If you get this palette, make sure you have something lighter in your kit as well. Just because, like, that's telling in itself. If you get a very pale client, I don't know if you'll be able to use this palette. This is 6 hours of wearing my makeup. I feel like it still looks pretty good. I rub my face a lot. I have a daughter who also tends to touch my face a lot, so of course there's going to be like a little bit of wearing off. I am really impressed with it for a lot of reasons, because how light it feels and how much it covers, also how my skin's not oily after 6 hours because it's such a high coverage foundation. I really thought more oil would be coming through. When I was originally looking into what foundations to buy, I saw a lot of reviews on MAC foundations and how all day long, like, you just don't get too much oily skin. So I found that really appealing. And I find the same thing for this palette. It's just that, like, you don't get that oily look after so many hours. I have not patted my skin down at all. This is just how it's worn after 6 hours. So I live in Australia, and when I was looking up for reviews, it was the MAC Australian site. Apparently you can find more reviews if you're on the American site. So I found about 20 other reviews, and the only thing that I learned that I didn't know before was that just like how I wish that there was a lighter foundation in the palette, people with darker skin tones or that work on darker skin tones wish that there was an even darker foundation in the palette. So that's something to think about, is that yes, it will cover a lot of in-between tones, but for really dark or for really light, it will not cover both of those. So you will need more than just this foundation palette for those kind of skin tones. So for me, I'm really happy with it. I feel like this is something that I want in my makeup kit, just to have that variety. I love that it wears good all day. I like that it feels light. I was really worried about it feeling heavy. I was like, oh, maybe it's just like a touch up in little spots, but I actually feel like it feels so comfortable to wear all day, even just on its own, which was shocking to me. So this is a product that I'll probably buy again. I'm happy with it. I can live with the fact that I can't replace each one if I run out. It went good. I'm happy.